Welcome to episode 5 of Moms That Read. I'm McKenzie.
I'm Kaylee.
And I'm Katarina. Today we're going to be talking about our January book club book, Variation, which, if you haven't joined our Fable, we're on Fable, and that's where we discuss all of our chapters like in detail as we're reading.
Yep.
So before we talk about Variation, we're going to talk about our recent reads. So what are y'all reading right now?
I just finished A Court That's Cruel and Lovely, which McKenzie told me to read. And it was so good.
I just finished Phantasma by Kaylee Smith.
Oh,
you finished it?
I hated it.
What?
I hated it.
You've been saying you've wanted to read it.
I know. Okay, so when I first saw it, I was like, that is intriguing, but not interested at all. And I kept seeing it more, and I was like, okay, it's got games and trials, which I love. It was just too dark for me. Like, it wasn't really dark. Like, it wasn't like
gothic?
dark.
Okay.
No, like ghosty, paranormal, and I don't like stuff like that.
That's fair.
And it was a little too spicy for me. Didn't like it.
We'd probably like the spice level.
Probably.
The
Tolerable.
games and trials were actually good.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Like
some
Hunger
books.
Game vibes? Or...
No. I feel like Hunger Games is more like they're thrown into something, and then this is like each level they have a certain like task that they have to do.
Okay.
So like
kind of like Throne of Glass, or like
kind of like Throne of
Assassin's
Glass.
Blade.
Yeah. So I liked that aspect of it, but the rest of it, I two-starred it. I didn't like it. And like on my yes, no, maybe.
I kind of want to read it though.
January, I mean, go for it. Yes, no, maybe. I'm gonna be like, no. But like that, I know that's a hot take because it's so popular right now.
Right.
I was on my
I kinda wanna
I will
read
not
it.
be reading the second book at all.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I got halfway through and I was like, do I want to finish this?
Maybe we should check it out.
I know. Maybe we should check it out.
Maybe I like it. I don't know. It was too paranormal, and I don't like stuff like that.
Like
Gotcha.
ghosts in what aspect?
Phantoms, ghosts.
Like they have a huge part of the plot, or...
Oh yeah, like they. Yeah. I didn't like it at all.
See. I might read it. I'm still
Didn't love it.
interested. I'm still
Didn't love it.
interested.
But maybe I'll like it. I know it's like a huge popular book right now.
Yeah,
So
it's all over Book Talk.
yeah, hated
What are
it.
you reading?
I just finished Throne of Glass, and I'm in Crown of Midnight, so I'm working my way through. That was my goal for the year, was to read the Throne of Glass series after I
You'll finish.
hated Assassin's Blade. So
I like it.
I'm excited.
If you love ACOTAR, you will love it.
Loving Throne of Glass. Absolutely love it.
It's my Roman Empire fantasy series, so
It's good.
I loved it.
It's real good.
Well, and I just finished Wild Love too. So
Okay.
the fantasy and the romance. So I'm gonna keep moving.
There we go.
I can't do more than one normally at a time.
I can't either. I can only do one at a time.
Not my thing. So Variation.
Variation was our book club book by Rebecca Yarros. What
We
y'all
all
think about
loved it.
I loved it. Yeah.
I loved that book. It was so good.
Do you want to go through and say what we rated it?
Yeah. So coming right off of it, I rated it like a 5-star. Looking back, I'm like, there are some things that I probably. The ending was not as strong as I was expecting.
Right.
I think we all agree with
Yes.
that.
And we can kind of go through that in a minute. I would say like 4.5 if I was realistically rating it.
I rated it a 4.5 as well. But initially coming off of it, I was like, wow, this is like a 5-star read.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, no, that was a 4.5.
We actually had our physical book club and talked about it. And talking through all of the stuff, I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I totally see where there's some parts. And I'm like, not great.
Yeah,
So-
when I was in the middle of reading, I was like, wow, 6-star read. Like, this is so good. And then the ending, I just wanted more. I didn't feel like it was justified in the end. And but it's still, for me, I think, a solid
It's a great
5.
book still.
Yeah,
It's
it's still a
yes.
great book.
I'd still
Oh, yeah.
recommend it to anybody who wants to read it.
Especially if you're a fan of Rebecca Yarros. Like,
Yeah.
non-Rebecca Yarros people, you're probably going to hate it. But I like, you might
If
love
you're
it.
into contemporary romance,
Yeah,
then
it's
I would
very,
say
very-
yes,
yeah.
read it.
Well,
But,
so going into what we were saying with the ending, I guess we can do spoilers because
I mean, yeah,
Right.
there is spoilers.
yeah.
Yes.
So
This
come
is where
back.
you need to stop if you have not read the book.
Come back when you have finished reading Variation.
So like the beginning was amazing. Like chapter 1,
Chapter 1, 2, and 3
Yeah,
ended with like bang,
Boom.
yeah.
bang,
So we have
bang.
the
Yes.
boat scene,
Mm-hmm.
which was like, whoa, okay,
Whoa.
that's crazy. Then we have Lena dies, right?
Right.
And
And
then he's
then-
like, and by the end of the second summer, she hated my guts, and I don't blame her.
And
And
then
I'm
we
like,
haven't
well, what did you
happened?
do?
Right.
And then we aren't going to speak for 10 years.
Right.
Like,
Yes.
completely
Oh my God.
crazy.
And then Juniper. And then you find out
Yes.
about all that. So, like, it was crazy for the first, like, 100 pages. And then I was expecting an insane thing at the end. And I
Right.
guess the insane thing was, like, the mom, right?
Right.
Yeah, but like I don't feel like
But
that
it
was very
wasn't-
insane because I figured that out.
Yeah, and I remember I texted you,
Mhm.
and I was like, she's got dementia, doesn't she? And she was like, just keep reading. But I was like, I kind of figured it out.
How did y'all pick up on that? Okay, so I kind of did. I was like, oh, maybe she had a stroke and she can't talk because I was like, usually you lose like motor functions. And I genuinely believe though that she was teaching dance at a school.
Yeah.
I believe that until the last fight they had.
Yeah. When they started fighting is when I sort of picked up that I don't think she was teaching.
Allie was ticked, rightfully. And then, like, she was answering with one words, and I was like, her answers didn't even match up with what was going on. I was like, something's not right. And
it should have been
something's off.
More obvious in the way that those girls who I thought were just like assistants were talking about their interactions with her, like today's a better day. Yeah, that should have been more of a she's in a facility somewhere, and it didn't click for me.
I assume from probably 3/4 of the book that the girl, I don't even remember her name, the girl who worked there was just like front desk lady at the dance studio.
Same.
Which I guess you were supposed to assume, but I figured it out at that conversation.
I think there was just so much going on that was like the bottom of the plot for me was what was happening with the mom.
Same. So I was expecting some big plot thing with what Hudson said at the very end about his revelation about everything, which I don't really think he did anything wrong.
No. Okay, let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
And work our way through because this is a plot heavy book. This is a very one of probably the most plot heavy books I've read. So like I liked the beginning when it was like she was hanging onto the boat and he was like love at first sight.
Yes, I loved that.
I was like, love it. Oh, this is gonna be good. Yeah. And honestly, Hudson throughout the book is a great book boyfriend.
Yes. I got zero red flags from him.
No.
The whole read. I never really?
My only red flag was thinking that he we'll get to this, but I thought he had done something with Lena.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I was
didn't
like,
get that vibe.
I totally got that vibe, but I was like, he seems too good to have had that happen. I thought it was going to be some kind of miscommunication where, like, he didn't actually do that, but it was implied that he did that.
I think it was miscommunication. Like, I feel like the whole book was a miscommunication trope, which I normally hate. So,
yeah, and one of the 1-star reviews that we looked at was miscommunication.
Right. It definitely was. But then, like, it went from love at first sight to she hated me by the end of the summer. And then I was like, oh, well, what did you do? You know? And then it goes right into future Allie dancing.
Yeah.
And then tears her Achilles because she thinks she sees Hudson.
Which that made me love him so much more.
I know.
Yeah.
And that was just like
if you're on the Fable app, I literally went in there. I'm like, oh my gosh, was he really there? Was he really at the ballet at the seat that she saved for him for 10 years? And
when I found that out, I was like, she's been obsessed with him for 10 years.
Yeah.
Right.
They've both been obsessed with each other.
That
they just
my
won't talk.
Problem. Like for 10 years, neither one of you could get past whatever it was in order to talk to each other. And like you were best friends.
Right.
It wasn't even like it was a failed relationship.
You couldn't even
like
send each other a letter.
Right. And the fact that she couldn't have even said, hey, like, this seat is always yours whenever you want to come to a show.
Yeah.
She just expected him to do it.
Like,
which he did.
It's a red flag for her. Like,
which
hello.
is a little unrealistic.
If I'm going to a ballet, I'm going to buy a ticket before I go to said ballet.
And
I'm not going to
assume that there's a seat open. Right.
I'm not going to walk up and give my name to the box office like they have a seat reserved for me.
It'd be different if they had been together this whole time and it was like, I hadn't been in forever, but she probably has
I think that was like a plot hole. She should have like sent him a letter saying, hey, if you ever want to talk or if you show up, then I know you still like care for me.
But I think she hated him so much that she was like, he would never actually do that.
Then why would she save the seat? Then why save the seat in the first place, though?
The hopes that maybe one day they would get back together.
Well, she should have sent a letter.
There should have been something.
Yeah. There should have been something.
I also think the amount of time someone drowned in this book.
Oh my God.
It's a little unrealistic.
I think she played way too much into he's a rescue Coast Guard person.
Once or twice, maybe.
Yes. But by the third time when Juniper was in the ocean, I was
magically while he was down there, her foot got caught in the weeds in the bottom. I'm like.
But also, like, we had the scene at the beginning, which is fine. The first time they meet after 10 years, it's because she's drowning in the backyard.
Drowning. Right. But she wasn't even drowning. No. She was drowning.
And then we have the whole Juniper thing. And
twice.
Then we in the boat. I'm like, what? Okay, come on. Like, this is a little ridiculous.
Yeah. We know he rescues people, It's
we
enough.
like that he rescues people.
We do.
But we don't need to do it 4 times to the same
Right.
people.
Nope.
It was
For
too
the
much.
same 2
Actually,
people.
one of my questions was the book realistic? And I think some of it was, but like that's not realistic. You know?
Yeah.
No, I think 80% of it was realistic. The 10-year gap thing, I don't think was realistic. I think in real life,
They would have moved on.
they would have moved on, or it would have happened sooner in
Right.
terms of communication, like within 3 to 5 years. Like they would have tried to reach out if it genuinely
Was
was
supposed to happen.
yes.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think so. But then I love Juniper. But I also think that part was a little unrealistic.
Her personality.
Yes.
She needed to be like 13.
She definitely like teaching middle school. I could easily see my middle schoolers doing stuff like that. They're so tech savvy when they want to find something.
Yeah.
As a 10-year-old,
10-year-olds still play with Barbies.
they do.
You know?
And a lot of them still, like, some of my kids don't even know their Chromebook passwords.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's been the same one since the 3rd grade.
Yeah.
So,
I just don't see a 10-year-old getting a phone, ordering a DNA test,
No.
sitting in the DNA
Doing
test,
all this without parent
ordering
approval.
like,
Yes.
how do you have a credit card number? And then
planning the whole thing to where they go to her house and it's like, oh, we're actually here. Like an
Right.
ulterior
and then
motive.
she's
like,
secretly taking ballet lessons. Like, none of that is realistic.
no.
None of
that
that.
part actually bothered me so bad that they were sneaking around the
Behind her.
mom. And just everything that has happened with the mom and her husband, I was just like, that's. And then when you find out the whole situation of why she didn't want her doing ballet at the
end
end,
up
I was
really-
just like, oh my gosh, like, I actually sided with the mom.
Oh, same. I hated her the whole thing, and then I
Yeah.
realized
Caroline,
why-
right?
Yeah, and
I
was like, okay,
hated
I
her
feel
the
that.
whole entire book
And
until
then you
the
find
end.
out she's
Like-
actually doing it because she loves Juniper so
Yes.
much that she doesn't want her taken away from her.
But why
Yeah.
not tell Juniper that?
But-
like,
I know.
She
I
knows
think
she's adopted. She knows her story.
So did Caroline know? That it was
Caroline
them?
knew.
Caroline knew everything except the parent, who the dad was. Right?
Right? Who the dad, yeah. So no one knew who the dad
don't-
was except for the mom.
Did she know who the mom was?
Yes, I think she did because that's why she agreed to not put her into ballet
Okay.
because she knew.
yeah.
So that explains. I must have missed that whole part.
I don't think anyone knew who the dad was except the dad and the mom. And,
So that
and
must
the
explain
mom,
why
yes.
Caroline hated Allie so much.
wait, explain.
Because
That she
you said
hated the
she
whole
knew that
family.
Lena.
Did she? I don't remember, honestly.
I don't think she knew, but I feel like she might have had like some inkling if she hated ballet that much. You know, like it made me.
Yeah.
She hated ballet and Allie so much. It made me wonder the whole time, like if she knew that Lena was Juniper's mom, or like had some inkling
know.
that she was related to them, because like she was
wonder if I could find
one unnecessarily rude to Allie the whole time,
Oh yeah.
and then
Allie was so sweet to her, honestly, for no
yeah,
reason.
and then she was very dead set against Juniper doing ballet, and I'm like,
Yeah.
well, what other reason really? You might not like it, but it doesn't really matter what you like if your child likes it. You know what I mean? Like, put your differences aside for your
Until you find out
child.
that in her clause, like she's literally not allowed to do it.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
then I feel like I would have had an inkling that it was a Russo baby. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, why would that be in a clause? You know, that doesn't make any sense.
Well, what y'all feel about Gavin? Because Gavin was kind of behind all of that. I loved Gavin.
I
Personally.
loved Gavin. I honestly thought he was the dad. And then all of a sudden they
Yeah,
were
I
like,
did too.
oh, we took a DNA test. I was like, well, dang, that could have been a nice plot bomb. But
Yeah.
I feel like that was an expected plot bomb, though.
Right.
Knowing that Lena and Gavin were kind of a thing, it'd be like, okay,
Yes.
Gavin's like the natural person you would expect.
Well, I also kind of thought that Juniper was Hudson's brothers for a second, because Lena and
Yeah,
Hudson's
Gavin.
brother. That's Gavin.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
then I would have loved that.
I would too. I liked Gavin.
And I think it's sweeter, though, knowing that, like, he
took her in
loved
regardless.
Lena. And after the fact, like, it made it even more just because of who she came from.
Yeah.
I just thought it was funny that Juniper walked up to Allie and was like, "You're my mother." I was like,
And I was
What?
like, wait a second.
I know.
No, I'm not.
There's no way that that's true. I felt the same way.
Allie would have known that she popped out a kid.
Well, and honestly, if you think
Right.
about it, if it was Allie's, it would have probably been Hudson's. And
Right.
then you got a
Right.
whole different scenario where
Correct.
Hudson's technically the uncle, but also the dad.
Yeah, no.
Like, that's
too
weird.
messy.
Yeah.
Too
Well,
messy.
I feel like
But that could happen. I mean, that
Yeah,
happens
that
in real
could
life
have
where
happened.
the parent, the sibling adopts the child. But
because wait, Juniper is around the same age
as when they would have been.
when Gavin and Lena were together.
That's probably why Rebecca Yarros made her 10. because she probably wanted you to think that it was Hudson
Yeah.
and Allie's kid from 10 years ago.
No,
Right.
probably that it was Gavin and Lena's.
Either one.
Because
That's true.
I picked up immediately that it was Lena's. I texted her
Really?
immediately
Yeah.
that it was Lena. Like, Lena's the mom. But
I didn't pick
I
up on
thought
it.
that
I
Lena
thought it
was
Allie.
still alive somewhere or something.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't think she was dead.
Sorry, no, she did.
She really did.
Yeah. Did you like the other two sisters?
No.
Ava was.
Well,
I loved
I
Anne.
liked
Anne was
Anne.
precious.
Eva, gross.
Oh.
Anne,
horrible.
I loved
Yeah.
Anne and like how she continued to stay home. Like, I think she did the right thing.
Yeah.
By moving and giving up like her career,
Especially because she couldn't have kids of her own. She
right.
was helping.
Oh,
Anne
she
and
deserves
Gavin
a
would be
side
really
story.
cute.
Who?
Are they around the same age?
I think
Anne's
Anne's
older.
older. Lena was the oldest.
Yeah, but
And-
Gavin was with Lena.
Oh,
So that would make
true.
So maybe a
I think it.
Second
I
book.
You said
early
there could be a
on.
spinoff with these characters.
I think it could be like
I
a
think,
whole
yeah.
series.
But who would you do the next book on?
Caroline.
Yeah, I could see the next book being on Caroline, and then
who?
the next one, probably someone random.
Probably
I would
random.
do Gavin, I think, for a second book, personally.
I think Caroline for a second book because of Juniper, and then for the third book, lead into like Gavin
Gavin
and
or
Anne.
Anne and Anne.
Gavin
Right.
and Anne.
I think that would be cute.
Oh, I could.
I could totally
As the middle
see
schooler
that.
say,
Yeah.
I ship that.
I ship that.
I
I
ship
do
that.
too.
I think Rebecca, if you're listening, I know you're not, but if you are,
There
second
you
book
go.
needs to be with Caroline.
Yeah.
Third, Gavin and Anne.
I hated Caroline, though, for so much.
I really
of
did
it.
too.
I hate that I hated her. She
But-
got on my
Same.
nerves, and
but
then
she was unnecessarily mean for most of
But
it.
She
it makes
was.
sense now at the end. But
Yeah.
It does, but even still, it was like, even if you hate her that much,
Mm-hmm.
some of the things that she was saying in response to Allie,
to
Allie was
Allie.
just so sweet to her.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
In that regards, I was just
she was
like, I'm
not
sorry,
nice.
you cannot be this way, especially if you know your brother loves this girl.
right.
And you know how your brother is. Your brother's not going to like be in love with
No.
someone that's just not nice.
Right.
You know,
Right.
Like, Hudson was great.
She was
Hudson
not
was
fair
great.
in that
She was
aspect.
horrible. I hated her. But then at the end, you're like, okay.
I
it
understand,
makes
but like
sense. It
that's
makes
a
sense.
The only thing that annoyed me really with Allie was that she kept pushing him away for so long. Like, girl,
You
Yeah.
know you're in love with him. You stay
You
with
know
for
that
10
you-
years.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
it's fine.
get real and get over it because you know you want to be with him. You know you're going to be with him, especially if you're questioning it 100 times and he's willing to move to New York to
Oh my
be with
gosh,
you.
Yeah.
yes.
And then you're still going to push him away.
That man
And,
was
like-
a walking green flag.
No, ma'am. You say, I'm so sorry that
But then she drove across the country to be with him.
Right.
And then he wasn't there.
But it took so long for that to happen. That's the only
It
thing
did.
that
It took
annoyed me.
too
Like,
long.
sure, it finally happened, but like, it should have stopped like 3/4 of the way in, if not before. And it was like the very end of the book before she was finally,
like,
yeah.
okay. Which is, yeah, I mean, I feel like most romances, they're at least together by like midway. This was like
Yeah, and
the last, like,
sure, there
50
could have
pages,
been,
okay, finally.
Yes.
there could, like, even if they do get together, there's like a third act breakup or like something that happens.
Slowest slow burn ever.
Right. I'm
Yeah.
like, y'all could have been together and then something could have broken y'all up and then, oh, I love you so much at the end.
Well, and I
but
think what was supposed to break them up
Yeah.
initially was
The thing that-
Hudson coming out about what he did, but
And
it was
that
like,
Right.
brought
and I
them
guess
together,
it
I
kind of
guess.
did, but like honestly, what he did was not that bad.
no.
And I
Like-
hate that. I feel
Bad for
worse
him.
that he carried that for
so
so long,
long.
and she carried the burden of like her mom. Like that in itself was so messed up, and the mom actively and
Saying it was
just
your
audibly
fault.
saying it was her fault. She obviously wanted it to be Lena who survived instead of her. That
Yeah.
tore at me because I was just like, as a mom, I could
can't
not
do
imagine verbally or even
Saying
thinking
that.
that, like
No.
telling a kid that.
She just wanted to have the one who was the best at ballet, which is why Allie tried
Which
so
is-
hard. It's
You
sad.
shouldn't have had that many kids then.
Right.
If that was how you
Unless she had that many
envisioned
kids
motherhood.
hoping that one of them would become famous.
True.
Which is just
But I also feel like
evil.
Hudson could have told her about the accident sooner because
Yes.
she didn't even know that she went to meet him
I think
before.
he was just I think
Yeah.
he was so guilt ridden about it though that he was like, she's gonna hate me.
Right, but like
But-
she didn't know the story. She had no idea.
Doesn't
She just
he
knew what
even
her
say,
mom told
like,
her.
I had no idea that you didn't know.
Right. Yeah.
He
because,
just thought that she willingly chose to ignore him.
right,
Yeah.
but it was her mom who hid
So
the
much of the
truth.
truth.
Right.
He did nothing wrong though.
I don't think
he
was
did
like,
anything-
I'm gonna save her and hope that
Mm-hmm.
I mean
I don't
But
think he
once
did
again,
anything wrong.
Gavin also said that would have been a different sister who survived if I had been the one on the crash. But that's just the reality of it. He was the one who saved her. Allie was the one that survived because of it. It was sad. Who do you think was like the villain of the story?
The mom.
Oh, 100%.
The whole time,
100%.
I feel like there were a bunch of people, like even Eva's little side, shenanigans of her psychoness. And I still don't think that Allie should have forgiven her as easily as she did. There's no way I would. Like, for a while. You can forgive, but you're going to have to earn my good graces back.
Yeah, I feel like she probably forgave her because she got sick. But even then, it would have been hard because before you got sick, you were Cruella de Vil.
Who did you think Juniper's dad was? Gavin.
I thought it was Gavin.
I thought Gavin. But then when they're like, no, Gavin, I was like, I have no idea.
And then I thought the ballet instructor, wherever she was, because she said that he knew about it and gave her time off. What was his name?
It was him.
It was him?
Yeah.
It was the old man, yeah. Or not old man, but like, what was his name?
I don't remember them ever straight up
being...
saying who it was.
Prissy.
Todd Chrisley.
And bald. That's what I kind of picture with like a scarf.
It was the older guy who ran the ballet, who was married.
So Lena was with him to get a spot or something.
Yeah. I guarantee the mom pushed that.
Mm-hmm. Because she even has the realization, like, at first Lena wasn't offered a spot. And then she was.
The mom was probably literally like, you do whatever you can to get that spot. I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
And then
to please her mother.
Baby came and it was like, well, we need to hide this so that people don't know what you actually did. It's probably what happened.
Because he's the one that signed the NDA and
Everett
allowed
signed
Allie into.
Oh. Everett signed the birth.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the dad signed the NDA and then.
Vasily or
yeah.
Oh yeah,
something like that.
Something like that.
He clearly was not a
We're
big
horrible.
His name is.
We're bad at this.
Not a big character.
Not a boy. He was a villain.
So we'll talk about the epilogue, which is I think the part we were all wanting more from.
Yeah.
What did you want more from it? Like what more did you?
I
want
don't even know that I wanted anything more specifically. I was just expecting like a big bang, and then it was just kind of like, oh, happily ever after.
Yeah,
I do think it was sweet at like kind of a full circle moment, like Juniper is performing at the Met. Yeah. The entire ballet squad is there to support her. The whole family's there to support her. And like the scene itself was cute, but I wish there was more even after that.
They didn't even get married at that point, did they?
No.
Yeah,
like,
they were married.
They
were married.
No kids or anything.
But I wish that there would have been a baby Allie.
Same.
I know.
Same.
Like,
that's why
or
they could
a
totally
baby
have
Hudson. Either one. Yeah. I just imagine their babies being so cute. So we're going to move on to a 1-star rating of this book. We thought it'd be a funny thing to add to the end because we obviously love this book, but we like to have fun, and the 1-star reviews are just hilarious. So I'll start with mine. I feel like there needs to be an abandoned bookshelf on Goodreads because I started this one and really tried to stick with it and just could not get into it for the life of me. Which I agree. I don't think it was that bad.
It was that bad.
But
I do support the idea of the shelf.
I like the abandoned bookshelf
on Goodreads.
Okay.
But I don't like that there's not a button on there that says that I did not finish.
You just have to remove it completely.
See, I don't like that.
I like the button though. I want a DNF button.
I do too. Goodreads,
because then
if you're listening.
Up as like unread, basically. And it's like,
right.
No.
I tried to read it.
I started it and just was terrible.
We need a DNF button, Goodreads.
Yes. Okay, so honestly, I would rather break my ankle than read this book again. The characters
or her Achilles.
The characters made me livid, and the MMC and FMC's relationship was so cringy. I've never read such unlikable characters. I should have put this on my DNF shelf. I really enjoyed Rebecca Yarros' Empyrean series, but this contemporary romance was not it.
Oof.
Once again, two very different genres.
Yeah, very different.
This is not giving Zaddy vibes.
No.
And I don't think any of her main MMCs and any of her contemporary romance would.
Zayden is like morally gray, shadow daddy.
Hudson's just like green flag.
He's like golden retriever.
Yes. He's the Dorian Havillard of variation. So my 1-star review. Ugh. Maybe I've just matured as a reader, but this was like a bad Colleen Hoover romance. Hated the entire thing. Part of the blame falls on the fact that I listened on Audible and the narration was so ridiculously dramatic. The male voice actor was just so angry for no reason.
Really?
But even had I read it myself, the setup was just a bunch of hollow tropes and characters with no character. Okay, I will say, I do love how she made fun of tropes.
Yeah,
she did. In the book. Yes. She was like, oh, this is the 1-bed trope, but we kind of have to do it because there's only one.
But you did get your 1-bed trope.
I got my 1-bed trope and I ate it up.
There's another one she did too, where she like openly made fun of it.
She said, was it like enemies to lovers? I think it was.
Maybe.
Or
yes, it was.
Anne said something about it, I think.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I think so.
Yeah.
Yes.
I thought that was hysterical.
I thought it was hilarious too because she blatantly said enemies to lovers.
I feel like
and
that was her like way of like breaking the fourth wall. You know what I mean? Like in movies where it's like you're talking to the audience, like here's your one.
Here's your job.
You.
But hey, on Fable, I went in and I was giggling and kicking my feet because there is one bed. Yes.
I hate it. I hate it.
The
I love
moment that they were going to camp, I was like, oh, we're getting a one bed trope. Immediately.
I loved it.
Oh, that's funny.
So
okay.
I highlighted something that I found interesting because it's Rebecca Yarros, and apparently she's like the next Taylor Swift with her Easter eggs or just like, connections to things. Towards the end, she put in here, truth always differs depending on who's telling the story, and in complicated situations, there are countless variations. And I was like, that is giving Violet's dad all the way, which I'm like, Rebecca, what's your
Easter
deal
egg?
with?
Well, I heard that there's an Easter. I haven't read it, but in the Likely Event has an Easter egg where it refers to Navarre, which is obviously Empyrean. So maybe she's like throwing little things out there to be like, you should read my book.
Are there going to be,
you know,
are there going to be different variations of the Empyrean series, like of how the story's told?
Probably.
Why Justinia's translating it?
Okay,
That
we won't put many spoilers in this. But, oh my gosh, that's true.
Clicked, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, nice. Well, that was January.
That was
Yeah.
January.
I hope y'all liked the book. Y'all have to tell us what you think.
Definitely.
We loved it.
We did a poll to pick our February book on Instagram and TikTok. Yeah. And it was between
Metal
Slinger, Quicksilver,
and Spark of the Everflame.
And y'all chose Quicksilver. So
Woo, I'm so excited.
that is we've all been wanting to read that for a while.
Yes.
So yeah. Make sure you add us on like Instagram and stuff so you can vote for
So what
March.
exactly is Quicksilver about?
It is humans, fae, vampires, magic, fates, hate to love. She's a human with a secret gift. He's a tattooed, damaged, dangerous fae shadow daddy.
Okay, so everyone talks about the MMC.
Kingfisher.
I don't know the FMC's even name.
I don't know either.
Me either. I only know him.
I wonder if she's just not as like, I don't know. As
Book Talk is
big as, like,
obsessed
Violet, you know what
with
Kingfisher.
shadow daddy.
Oh,
so
I heard Carrion is a really good character too.
yeah, side character. I've heard
He's
that
like Dorian.
I've heard that he's a really good side character.
Yeah.
That he's fun.
But I don't know
even heard
that
that name.
I don't either. Gosh, we should
Wait.
know this. Apparently, she's not important. So
It's
apparently, he's the only important one.
So that's our book. So y'all have to join Fable as we talk about Quicksilver.
Yeah, excited.
Awesome. Follow our page and download the podcast. That's really helpful for us. And like us on all of our socials. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.